Welcome everyone. We're just going to get started. So today we are having a webinar on what you need to know with the new EMDG. I am the moderator just to help with the chat comments and the Q&A. But our speakers today are Stuart Smith, who will be joining us shortly, and Robert Jones. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you could, when you want to add any comments or use our Q&A window, but also in our chat window, make sure that you select panelists and attendees so that everybody can see your comments, just to make this a very engaging discussion. We are sure that you'll have a lot of questions to ask, and it will be good for everybody to see the type of questions that are out there so that we can address them. Feel free to ask away during the presentation. And we will also make sure at the end of the session, if there's any questions that we've missed, that we'll address them as well. So now I am going to hand over to Rob to start this webinar.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Just a bit about Stuart and I. We've been directors of Vebiz since 2006. It's a specialised grants consulting firm assisting business with particular emphasis on the export market development grant and the R&D tax incentive, and of course, other business productivity programs. I've actually been a chartered accountant in the past and an EMDG specialist for many years, starting my own firm in EMDG, an export business. I believe that exporters could be better supported with a more holistic approach to using the EMDG for grants, the grant for expanding their business overseas. I have an accounting degree and a computer science degree, and hopefully a methodical approach that we apply to EMDG. Stuart has previously been with a multinational chemical organisation and held a number of positions in computing across a variety of industries as well. He's been a manager of an outback sheep station as well. Working together in Vebiz is an extension of a friendship that began actually on the first day of school, high school, and has extended through professional journey, university and working careers. And we pride ourselves on working well with our innovative and wonderful business, dedicated business clients over the last 15 years. Stuart, would you like to talk about the agenda?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Yes. So what we're going to do today is, moving through today's session, we'll discuss the whys and wherefores of what the new EMDG is about. The Export Development Market Development Grant Act 1997, what we currently work under, has undergone a major revision with a bill put to Parliament called the Export Market Development Grants Legislation Amendment Bill 2020. We'll provide the latest updates from Austrade and from the Minister's Office. Unfortunately, basically not much since December. And if you would like to ask questions at any time using the chat or towards the end, please do so. Dorothy Dixes are fine. We like those. Put them on the chat and address them to everyone, or just to Sandra, and she will bring them to our attention. I'll hand over back to Robert now to give the background and detail of what we know of the changes for the new EMDG. This is the federal government's change to the whole EMDG program from a reimbursement program to an application grants program. Rob.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Austrade has spent quite some time and resources on trying to fix the EMDG over the last few years. The main issue being insufficient funding and then not having the funds, obviously, to fully pay out all the claims, people not getting what they were expecting. Legislation was put through the last sitting of Parliament in 2020. In the current sitting, the government will finalise the process of changing the legislation from a reimbursement program to a grants entitlement program. The objective being to determine the amount of EMDG that a grant applicant will receive at the start of the program, not after the claim is lodged, or the money spent. The bill introduced was the Export Market Development Grants Legislation Amendment Bill 2020. The legislation has removed a large number of sections of the old Act and predominantly left a more discretionary power with the Austrade Commissioner and the Minister to make changes in the functioning of the EMDG in future years. The government has decided that a grants program whereby the funding, they're changing it to a grants program rather than a reimbursement program. The new EMDG rules have been described in an exposure draft provided to the public for review prior to being tabled in the Parliament. It's called the Export Market Development Grants Rules 2020. The new rules will be tabled for the February session of Parliament. Then they must be tabled for another 15 sitting days. So it may not pass that milestone before the budget sittings, most likely in May. So we do not expect the draft rules to be changed much by Austrade beforehand. Due to a lack of time, the draft rules could be almost final. Vebiz will put the amendment, reference guide and draft rules on our website for those of you who like to read that sort of document. We will continue to update you with summaries of any changes. Austrade has issued a document entitled Quick Reference Guide, What Do the New EMDG Rules Mean for Me? There will be more definitive documents and procedures available from Austrade before the application period for the new EMDG. The representative group, that is the EMDG Reform Committee of Industry, the department, consultants and government, were to meet prior to January 26th, but this has not occurred from what we believe. The Export Consultants Group met with the Austrade on January the 14th. Submissions were sent on December 18 and on January 26. However, no responses have been received, which is why we're not expecting major changes to draft rules or timing of applications. Vebiz will keep you up to date with this information. Apparently, it's been tabled according to one of our attendees. So this is what we know. These are the changes and the overall requirements. The new program commences on July 1st, 2021. All expenditure on export marketing during the 2020 and 21 financial years will be claimed under the old EMDG rules. Turnover limit has been reduced to 20 million from the previous 50 million. Grant agreements with agreed amounts will be subject to application and assessment. Plans must show that you're ready in each stage. Marketing activities need to be carried out according to the plan. Payments will be made against milestones, and the total potential funding per exporter has been reduced by $430,000. Austrade have been working to roll out the new program while trying to manage the old one in the past year and into 2021-22 financial year. Can we go back a slide? We anticipate that some adjustments will be made in administration in this process. Austrade have finalised the program, haven't finalised the program detail, and they will in the next couple of months. We will let you know. You should attend to the next webinar. Next slide, please. So it's a 3-tiered program, and as mentioned before, they each have different requirements. The new to export program has a maximum grant of $40,000 a year for a total of $80,000. The new Tier 2 program will be for 3 years with a maximum of $80,000 each year for 3 years and totaling $240,000. The third tier is where a company is making a strategic marketing shift, and the maximum grant will be up to $150,000 each for 3 years, totaling $450,000. So the plans are required and the submissions required for each tier. So the grant is still going to be 50% of expenditure. It must spend at least the same amount on the expenses. So new to export, you'll need to show that you have an export plan that you have not exported before, but that you are export ready. In tier 2, where you're aiming to grow the business or the exports, you show that you have a plan to grow the market or expand overseas for all your products and services, and that you have already exported. In tier 3, show you have a plan to make a strategic change and also show that you have been exporting. Austrade will assess your applications, but we don't quite know what the specific merit criteria will be. Stuart will now discuss the application process.
Thanks, Rob. So this is a new application process. So this has to happen prior to your expenditure on marketing when the new scheme comes into effect in July 2021. There will be a period when the applications can be made. That'll be for a set period of 4 to 6 weeks. We're not sure when it will open or when it will close. As you can see, the windows are tightening at the moment for July 21 beginning. All applications will have to be assessed during that period. Austrade will assess them, and then they will make a grant offer to the applicant. The grant offer will be an agreement, a contract between the applicant and the federal government. It will in essence guarantee the amount that you're going to get from the scheme as long as you follow as long as your acquittal process is successful. The acquittal process being a process where you're asked to demonstrate that you've actually spent the money on eligible expenses and that you have followed the plan that you put in the first place. You'll need to conduct your marketing activities according to that plan. Now, those marketing, obviously that can change over 12 months, over a couple of months, over 12 months. And even when you're putting in a plan for 2 to 3 years, it will obviously change. You can vary that plan at any time, and that will need to be done to make sure that when you get to the end of it, you've actually spent the funds as you've demonstrated to Austrade that that's what you do. Exporters will then claim against the expenditure they have, and those claims will be milestones, what they call milestone payments. We expect the milestone payments, from what Austrade have said, to be annual, rather than they won't, very unlikely to be upfront or paid during the claim period. So a new to exporter will get an annual payment after the first year and then after the second year. You'll get the funds and you'll hopefully reinvest those funds back into export marketing. Thank you, Sandra. So what do we need? What do we need to apply under this new program? As we've kept stressing, you'll need plans for marketing and promoting your products. You'll need to, depending on your tier, show that you're export ready or you've already exported, or that you are making a strategic change. You'll need your ABN. You'll need to show that you have a turnover less than 20 million in the year before the application. This is again a major change. It cuts out all SMEs from the $20 to $50 million turnover point. You'll also need to show some of the existing criteria, which is that you have not claimed more than 8 grants. You passed the fit and proper person test. You're not marketing illicit goods or goods that couldn't be sold in a particular country. And those goods are designed, either made or designed predominantly, or have their origin predominantly in Australia. So where does Vebiz fit in with this? We believe that we can help you determine the appropriate tier that you should be working in. This will be there will be a strategy. Once there is more information released between now and July, there will be a strategy as to whether you actually make a claim in the current year, or you wait and just for new exporters, or try and go directly into the new program. Exporters should also note that in this, there is no export sales test for any of the grant years. The removal of that test may also affect your plans and your strategy for export marketing. We don't know the other criteria in terms of how they will assess a market plan and what needs to be in it at the moment. I'll pass on to Robert to have a quick mention of the expenses that we believe will still be in the program according to the publications that have been made. Rob.
Thanks, Stuart. We believe that the eligible export marketing expenditure will continue under these categories. It is a matter of organisation and substantiation. It's still cash-based. Evidence will be required. There will be no export performance test, as Stuart mentioned. One thing that's interesting is that if you're applying for a plan going forward, then you won't be able to claim the 24 months in the first claim as you have been in the past. So that's another thing to consider. Next slide, please. Payments will be on milestones, but what these are has not yet been clarified. However, we know that other eligibility criteria must be maintained and an accrual process will be undertaken. This is a $135 million grant program, so there will be appropriate government oversight. Thanks. One of the interesting things here is the new and existing programs. This is not just a plan for next year. This is going to be ongoing. For this year, we continue to process the EMDG for 2020 and 2020-21 financial year, and that'll end on 30 June. But each existing EMDG client also needs to create a plan and lodge an application for expenditure in next financial year from 21-22. So it sort of doubles up the work. So we all urge all exporters to be ready for this. New clients will have to put in a plan, and old clients, existing clients, must put in a plan as well.
So a reasonably short presentation today, because the amount of information that has come forward has been relatively scarce by the government. There are a lot of questions remaining, and we wait to see what the responses to those will be. So if you have questions, please ask at the moment. More than happy to take plenty of time now to delve into it. The main points to realise from all of this is that the model is changing completely from a reimbursement program to an application program, that the amount of funding that you will receive back will be known at the start of your export marketing activities rather than waiting till the end of the year. There is no more money going into the program. So the fact that you know how much you're getting does not mean to say that you're actually going to be getting more. You'll just know how much it's going to be. So do we have, Sandra,
Stuart,
do we have any questions?
And there are a couple of comments that's coming through the panelist window, but we have Michelle, who asked for a copy of the slides to help the team to prepare for the EMDG claim.
Yes, we'll certainly make the slides available. We'll make, as I said, the documents that have been released available, and they amount to a total of four documents that have been released by government or Austrade regarding this complete new change until we get there. We've got a question here about the 8 application limitation. The 8 application limitation will remain. So if you have had 8 applications, as far as we know, the standard rules will apply, that if you're in the same business or if you have bought into a business that already has applications, the eight application limit will apply. The interesting thing.
Oh, I was going to say there's another question too.
The interesting thing with the applications is that if you have not claimed EMDG before, is whether Austrade will consider you a new exporter, in which case your limitation on your first grant years will be $40,000, or whether they will look at your actual export record and take that into account, and then they have to look at whether that was opportunistic or whether it was a planned process. Having said that, first-time applicants that have claimed the EMDG, will that allow them to bounce straight into the second tier, meaning that they can access the higher amount of funding on a per year basis. So there is some tactical and strategic questions that applicants need to ask themselves prior to the end of this year.
Stuart, we have a question in the chat window from Lance. Will there be an Austrade template for the marketing plan?
Not that we're not aware of. Austrade do put out a number of tools, assistance, and there's a number of templates for different marketing plans, but one that's specific for the EMDG, we've not heard mention. Austrade does have on their website an export readiness test, which is a series of 12 questions which you need to answer, and they will then come back with an outcome that says, yes, we believe you're ready, or we don't believe you're ready. That's been there for a while. Whether that will be the same readiness test that they will use for new exporters or that's going to be modified. But our intention is to be able to use that as the guideline for assisting new applicants into preparing their business. It's a fairly, any sort of questionnaire that you can answer yes or no to means that you can answer yes, and in your own mind you might believe it's yes. It's whether Austrade, when they come to review your business, will believe that yes was the right answer.
Thanks, Joanne. That question was from Lance. We've got a comment from Herman, and we've also got another question. Herman's got, what everyone has to be aware, you have to have funds allocated to the grants. Cash flow is an important issue with small to medium businesses.
Yeah, Rob, would you like to answer that? Respond to Herman, please.
Well, in all grants programs, and this one as well, you have to find the other half of the money. And typically in EMDG in the past, you've had to spend the money before getting any back, and it has been a long time until you get some back. In this case, it's going to be the same. You still have to spend the money to get any back, but ultimately you're funding your 50% of the export marketing. Now, the question that arises out of this is if Austrade receive an application from you for, say, $40,000 worth of grant in the first 2 years of a potential application string, and they only approve 20,000, does that mean you have to have spent the 80,000 because you applied with 40,000, or does it mean you only have to spend 40,000 for the 20,000?
We've got a question from in the Q&A. An applicant has a business where they've already made 3 claims. They're incubating a new business, different products, different type of business within that. So the question then is, should they separate that business out before June 30, or would they leave it sitting in their existing business? In other words, should they have one ABN or 2 ABNs? That same question would have applied under the old scheme. Here it is quite interesting because if they've claimed 3 claims, then they're getting to the point where they can go into tier 2. But to get to tier 3, the argument is that you need to be making a strategic shift in your products. So if you're marketing the same thing and you're doing the same thing year after year, you may not qualify for years 5, 6, 7, and 8. For that client, the question is, if they continue to market, then they can then say that's a strategic shift from their new business, or should they try and get that business completely separate and start from tier 1 as a new business? Like all these questions, we can't provide a specific answer, but we can pose those sort of questions. So I'll be happy to have a further conversation with you about that, about the best strategy for starting a new business, or for having different business lines or different business models within the same company. Hopefully that. Please come back if that's not clear, and you'd like to follow up that within the Q&A, please.
Yeah, Stuart, so. We've got and Vicky says thank you. John has got a comment on that, but there's also another question from Arcel. Did you want to look at John's comment in regards to Vicky's question?
Yeah, one of our fellow consultants has with the clarifying and his understanding, and thank you for that, John. Again, I don't believe any of this is written in stone at the moment, unfortunately. If you've had 3 claims under the old system, you may be able to go straight to tier 3 if you're making a strategic shift, so that the point of that being you can access the 150,000 grant per year instead of the 80,000 grant per year. That particular issue, you may be able to jump to those. That also means that you would be foregoing potentially an extra 2 years of funding by jumping into tier 3. So there will be some, until there is more clarity, until probably the scheme has been running it for a couple of years, how an applicant uses the EMDG will be a little bit of trial and error, I think.
And we've got a question from Marcel. Just want to confirm for this year's application that we will be submitting a marketing plan for this year and next year.
Okay, so for getting the years that we're talking about is where most miscommunication occurs. The current financial year that we are in, the 2021 year, where you're spending money now, it's going in and out of your bank statement now. The rules for this will be no different to the EMDG that you did last year or the year before, etc. So it will be a reimbursement program. We don't know how much it's going to be. We don't know if there will be a sales test on it. But the rules, as far as what you do, there is no need to have a specific plan for your export marketing. The plan needs to be available to be submitted when applications open for the 21-22 financial year when you start to spend money after July 1st, 2021. So the outcome of that is you need to be starting to think about what a marketing plan would look like for the next 2 to 3 years. And I wish we had a quick poll running. How many of our attendees out there have a marketing plan that extends over 2 to 3 years? I'm not going to assume what the answer might be, but I'd be very interested. And we might actually run that.
They can put
polls. Yeah.
Stuart, I was going to say that they can put their answer in the chat window.
Yeah, but please feel free if you have. I'm sure it's the people that do have one will be happy to let us know. But yeah, I think it's not only a fundamental change to the way that people will do their business to get the grant funding, but they'll have to make changes to their actual business themselves. And for government to actually ask someone to plan 2 to 3 years ahead in the current environment is asking more than they're asking of themselves, I would think. And as someone's commented, we have a plan, but it's not in writing and it's not set. So this is going to be the issue that everyone knows where they want to go. They know that they're going to attend certain trade shows. They know that they want to achieve certain market targets within a certain period. But that's, as they say, it's in their head. It might be in a few emails. This is where this is going to be much more formalized and it's so that it can be scrutinized by Austrade. So the question about templates is important. As I said, Vebiz, lots of marketing companies, but Vebiz, because we've been in the export business, we have a number of templates to help you plan that and help you plan your export marketing and present your export marketing in a way that not only satisfies Austrade, but hopefully adds value to the way that you run your business as well.
Mm-hmm. We're done with the question?
Yep, I think that's all the questions we've got, and I've just posted the link.
Happy to stay. We're happy to stay on for a little while. Feel free to leave. Feel free to put in letters, any questions by email to us. And as I said, as soon as we have more information, we will come back to you. This recording will be available to you, and as we said, the notes. The information as provided so far will be on our website.
Stuart, we've got another quick question from Jacob. Will the cost of Vebiz will be covered under the grant?
It's a very interesting question. We can't make a determination. Well, the cost of Vebiz to help you prepare an export marketing plan will be eligible expenditure, and that's all. If you use any consultancy service to prepare a marketing plan, then the cost is eligible expenditure. The cost of preparing the acquittal process will still be we believe will still be outside the what will be eligible expenditure. But I think in this case it will be interesting because preparing the application is actually the major part of that is going to be preparing a marketing plan. So unless Austrade come up with certain exemptions or rules that isolate that, I would say yes, the cost of preparing the marketing plan will be covered under the grant.
And Herman says thank you for the webinar.
Thank you.
Got more comments coming through now.
Yeah. Just as one of our attendees has said that COVID travel restrictions have been the major challenge, and look, that's for anyone trying to get in or out of Australia, or for people that have had either have representatives or have tried representing and been overseas themselves for long periods. We have one client that actually has been stuck overseas for 12 months because they know they've had to do business over there, so they haven't been able to come back to Australia because they know they couldn't get back over there. So they've actually been stuck overseas. All we would say is what we were starting to talk about some months earlier, prior to even COVID occurring, so over 12 months ago, was companies should be looking at overseas representatives. Overseas representatives are eligible under the rules. Finding a good one, finding someone you can trust, no different to any other business, but that will help you overcome the travel restrictions, and look at what you might use over there. So in terms of travel restrictions, it's one thing you need to do.
I'm just sharing the details for
Yep.
the webinar, and
we need some lift music or something going on here, don't we?
Some filler. Well, there's that last slide. Yes, answers the last question we had.
We still have 21 people logged in. So if you do have any questions, or if you're just waiting to see if others have questions, please feel free to stay, because we'll remain here until everyone's gone off for their coffee or whatever. Well, until any other questions come up, the Export Consultants group are a group of people similar to Vebiz that have worked with Austrade for a long period of time. There is a love-hate relationship, one might say, between them and Austrade because we're not the applicant, so we can't speak. The applicant speaks through us. But they are a vastly experienced group, many of them coming out of Austrade themselves, many of them coming from export marketing positions themselves. And the Export Marketing Consultants Group have posed a number of questions about how this scheme will operate. There is no point fighting whether you believe this is the right or wrong scheme. The idea is to make this a smoother transition for all of our clients. So those questions have been done in a way to either prevent errors happening through in the future or to improve what's being done. We are unfortunately, I'm not having a go at Austrade here because they have a huge program on at the moment. They have had, because of the lack of sales test in the current financial year, in the current claim year, they have had a much greater influx of grants than was envisaged. So they have that to handle, as well as they now have to look at training all their staff, developing the program, and being able to educate the public on this new program. So while not getting responses back from Austrade is very frustrating, there is some understanding. However, I think I made the call to Austrade myself as an applicant, just saying, tell me about the new program. And unfortunately, ringing Austrade won't help you at the moment because they had not released anything, whether it be internally that they can disclose or out to our Exports Consultant Group to be able to tell you more than what we've been able to tell you today.
I think one of the important things is that people start planning or start thinking about doing their plans for the new scheme, and keeping in mind that the existing scheme will operate for this current financial claim period. So they're actually going to have to do a bit more work this time, and hopefully that'll pay off in the future. But don't neglect this year. Don't neglect the detail of what's required this year. Also, you need to get that plan done. To think about where you come in, and we've got the templates. So if you want to ask Austrade for templates, that's fine. But we can provide good quality export marketing plans, templates, budgets, and work with you to come up with the right material.
I think that's we don't have any more questions other than comments of thanks.
Shall we call it a day?
Yeah, we can certainly just let everybody know that a recording will be sent out, and we'll also email out a copy of the slides.
Thanks, Sandra.
I'm going to take this opportunity, Sandra, for our remaining participants. We'll see if they stay on or what it is, to thank Sandra, who has helped our business over the last 12 months come onto the internet like this, be able to do webinars, interact with people through Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social media. And her approach is excellent. You could not ask for a better approach. She does not advertise herself as part of these, but I would thoroughly recommend anyone that is looking for social media management, Sandra's business, and I'll ask her to make herself available, her contact details available next time, is certainly excellent. The volume of people we've had on this webinar is quite high, which is testament to both the subject, I believe, but also the communications that they provide for us. So thank you, Sandra.
Thanks, Stuart. I really appreciate it, and thanks to both of you. You guys are a pleasure to work with.
Thank you to all the attendees for coming on. It's been great.
And they've asked some really good questions. I thought it was very good discussion. So it's been wonderful to navigate something that's quite uncertain, and to be able to just at least get some insights what the new plan, EMDG plan, is looking like.
When's the next one?
19th of March.
Great. Thank you.
At that stage, we would expect the application document to be available because, as we've said, there will only be a 4 to 6 week window to get the applications in. They have to be in. Austrade have to assess them. They have to agree to what you're doing. They have to get you to sign a grant agreement. And presumably, we would expect that all has to happen before July 1, 2021. Otherwise, you would be going into the new year with your marketing expenditure still not knowing what the amount of funds is that you'll receive. So, as I said, this is counting down to some fairly fine windows for Austrade and for applicants to actually make this work by July 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, just somebody just quickly out. Mariam just asked if there's another date prior to the 19th of March, and I think it's we're allowing a month to make sure we get all the latest updates in time for that webinar, because things are quite fluid, aren't they, Stuart?
Yeah, that's right. To come back in a week's time when Austrade have not said anything would be just saying we don't know anything yet. But please give us in terms of wanting to understand more about this, please give us a call directly. Go onto our website, make a time. If you want a specific time, our website allows for a calendarized appointment, or just ring either Rob or myself through the number there. More than happy to talk through any questions you might have.
Great. I guess on that note, Stuart,
Yep.
shall we
I was
wrap
just
it
going
up?
to say, if any of our other consultant listeners are on there, if they want to make any comment to the panelists that are left, please feel free as well. Oh, one of them just disappeared. So, yeah, look, we might leave it there, and we'll meet again in a month's time. Cheers.
Thanks, Sandra.